Argentina. The military leaders there progressively demolished the authoritarian institutions while maintaining their interests in order to reconfigure the political and economic setup such that there can be democratic-led regimes. And we've seen that those democratic regimes have survived to today. What you could have is maybe a middle ground whereby, for example, like in Angola. Now, Angola wasn't a coup, but then you had a scenario where it was a family-led dynasty, which came to the end after the resignation of Eduardo dos Santos, and the worst elements of the regime are dealt with, and then attempts to reform are undertaken. But then you can also have a scenario where he takes the Al-Sisi route. That is the route that the Egyptian president Abdel Fattah al-Sisi took after he took over as a military leader, and then puts on the civilian hat and tries to become president himself. So those are the four pathways which I believe could occur with respect to the current situation in Gabon. If now steps aren't taken to fundamentally retool the way in which the economic benefits are redistributed to the population, it will be a problem, because at present, Gabon has a 33% poverty rate according to the World Bank, and according to the National Employment Office in Gabon, over 20% of Gabonese are unemployed. And that's in a country which barely has a population of 3 million. So that could lead to instability, unrest, and potentially another uprising in the future.
What about the population of Gabon? People, the masses, were seen celebrating on the streets of the capital, Libreville, when the coup happened. But what exactly do they want?
You could hear Gabonese on the streets, and some of the Gabonese I've spoken to who say this is like a liberation for them, a second independence. So there's a lot that they have in terms of expectations. You hear people saying that now they're going to be able to have access to more economic opportunities. Poverty is going to be lifted. There's going to be, greater freedom of expression. The ability to participate in the decision-making aspects of the country is going to be more possible. While there's going to be the psychological shock that, oh my goodness, the bongos aren't going to be omnipresent in our lives anymore. But then on the other hand, it's like, this is actually an opportunity for a break from the past, for us to be in the direction that we want the country to go in.
And you can hear more of that conversation by heading to the BBC website and searching for BBC Africa Daily. This is Newsday on the World Service.
The weather forecast for the Radio IQ listening area. A very mild night tonight, mostly clear skies, lows in the low 70s for most, low 60s for farther southwest. More of the same Tuesday, highs around 97 for central and south side, near 100 degrees for Charlottesville, Richmond, and Fredericksburg. Another mild night Tuesday with lows falling into the upper 60s to low 70s. The heat continues Wednesday, sunny with highs in the western part of the listening area in the low to upper 80s, upper 90s for Roanoke and areas east.
Radio IQ is broadcasting in digital on WVTF Roanoke, WRIQ Charles City Richmond, WURV Richmond, WVTU Charlottesville, WVTW Charlottesville, WVTR Marion, WISC FM Wise, WQIQ Spotsylvania, WIQR Lexington, WEHC Emory, and in Richmond on 92.5 and Fredericksburg on 94.9. Radio IQ, a service of Virginia Tech.
Hello and welcome to Newsday on the BBC World Service with Rob Young and Victoria Uonghunda.
The US claims the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is planning to travel to Russia to meet President Vladimir Putin and discuss selling weapons to the Kremlin. We'll look at the significance of such a meeting for both nations, the war in Ukraine and the rest of the world.
We'll also take a look at the economic relationship between North Korea and Russia.
Also ahead, solutions and action are the main focus as the Africa Climate Change Summit continues in Nairobi. But can the African continent manage to wean itself off coal for its energy?
Thousands of doctors and dentists go on strike in New Zealand over pay conditions.
And Turkey's president has hit a snag in getting his Russian counterpart to sign up again to a Black Sea grain deal. Those stories and more after a bulletin of the latest world news.
With the BBC News. The White House says the reclusive leader of North Korea is planning to travel to Russia for his first talks with President Putin for 4 years. U.S. officials believe Kim Jong-un's visit is part of efforts by Moscow to boost supplies of shells and missiles for its troops in Ukraine. From Los Angeles, here's Peter Bowes.
There has been growing concern in Washington that this deal was being worked on by Russia and North Korea. It followed a visit to North Korea by the Russian defense minister. And so now, in the last few hours, we have confirmation from officials in Washington that it is believed that Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin will meet at some point, a place to be decided, it seems, or at least revealed, in Russia over the next few weeks. A very high-stakes meeting. They have met before. 2019 was the last time in Russia, but clearly the situation is different now.
The Cuban government says it's uncovered a human trafficking ring aimed at recruiting its citizens to fight for Russia in Ukraine.